Hey everybody, it's Libby again with the WootRecruit YouTube channel. So what is WootRecruit? We are your go-to recruiters for the high turnover industries such as cleaning, lawn care, landscaping, roofing, and construction. If you're a service-based business, we are here for you. We are the first ever recruitment program tailored exclusively for the service-based industry, turning recruitment into a growth engine. Stay tuned and learn some hiring and culture strategies from one of our special guests. So today we have Molly Moran on. Molly, give us a little intro about you and who you are and why we should listen to you. What do you do?
So you should listen to me. I own a house cleaning company called Green Sweep in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've had it for 15 years. We're celebrating our 15-year anniversary this spring, and I have if there are mistakes that have been made in hiring, culture, anything, I've made all the mistakes and have learned from most of them, I would say. And so I definitely have some history and some knowledge to share in terms of that. And we've had significant growth in the past couple of years, and I would say WootRecruit has definitely been a part of that. We've used Woot for at least 2 years now, if not longer, and it's been a really interesting ride to see how the recruiting game has changed and how hiring an outside agency can help us internally. It's a who not how kind of situation, which is really awesome. And now I'm rambling, so I'm Molly Moran.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen to
So
me.
Molly, I think you missed something. Didn't you just win something?
Won several things. So we won Best of Albuquerque for the seventh year in a row. And this they have top five and then best of. And this past year we were best of. So that's awesome. Best.
There's something else that you won.
I am a. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes, I am a New Mexico woman of influence as a business owner. So, and that's coming up here soon, but that was just announced recently. Yes, I am a woman of influence in the business community of New Mexico. Thanks, Libby.
So what better person to have, right? She just won Woman of Influence for this, like in New Mexico, just not our town. Like, wow. But I thought that that was a good segue into really talking about, you know, how did you go about, like, so you've won all these things and obviously you can't do them without people. Like people, we're in the people business, whether it's customers or employees. But I wanted to bring Molly on to talk about culture because I don't know if you've ever seen any of Molly's videos on social media. I know she just shot a commercial, but you seem to have a really great culture.
Well, thank you. You know, it's something we are regularly working on and iterating and improving, and that's part of it. Is you can't just have it be done with a thing and think it's gonna like just continue on. You need to. I believe you have to continue iterating it. And for me, as a business owner, it's always about it's the three P's. It's people, planet, and profit, right? And it starts for me with people. I thought I'm going to start a clean. Back when I was going to start a cleaning company, I didn't actually know what kind of company I was going to start. I just knew that it needed to like be good to people and needed to be good to the planet, and then profit came last, and it actually did come last for a long time. So I didn't have the profit game down there for quite a few years, but I figured that went out with some help. And You really can. It doesn't. I don't think it matters what industry you're in. You could be making widgets. You could be doing roofing. You could have a cleaning company. It's all about figuring out how to we spend a lot of time at work, right? And so for me, it's about how do we make this the best experience for the people who are coming to work. And sometimes we fail at it, but I would say we succeed at it more than anything. For so our culture is around appreciation, empowerment, um, recognizing people for who they are and what they need as humans. I mean, we spend so much time at work, right? Like, and that, like, why wouldn't we? Like, this is there are some basic human needs to be seen, to be understood, to be appreciated. And so if we're not doing that as employers, like, that's like a third of a person's life. That they're not being, I'm forgetting the word, but like a lack of I'm being redundant, but they're not being seen and appreciated for who they are and their contributions to the world. So it's really important to me.
So I love this topic because as, working and owning WootRecruit, we see this all the time. That statement, we've all said it probably to ourselves at one time or another, or heard somebody say it, and it's, nobody wants to work. Like
Mm.
everybody's garbage. Nobody wants to work.
BS.
Everyone that shows up to my interview is horrible. One, you've already determined that they were horrible before they showed up because you said that to yourself. And so you've already kind of predetermined that. So no matter if a rock star walks in or not, you have set yourself up to fail just by saying those words over and over and over. But Molly, when it comes to culture, like I don't believe that at all. I feel like it is BS because there's great companies out there that have, like, I'm going to just give you an example, like Dutch Bros Coffee. Dutch Bros Coffee pays minimum wage, not minimum wage, but a very low salary in comparison to the jobs people are leaving to go be a broista, because of the mission, because of the culture, because it's a bigger part of the greater good. And so I love the topic of culture, and I want to dive like a little bit deeper. Like, what are some things that people can do? Maybe they don't have to be that very detailed, but what are just some, and you got into it a little bit, but culture is so hard to measure. So in business, we have KPIs like percentages and close rates and the number of leads and number of applicants. But culture, you can't touch it. You can kind of feel it, but only it's a feeling, not like feel it. You can't like measure it per se. There's no KPI on culture, unless maybe it's your employee attrition rate.
I was going to say retention. Yeah, would be yeah.
But how, as a business owner, what are some tips on either, you could go either way, on observing how healthy my culture is or like improving my culture? So I think it could go both ways. Like we all think our companies are just the greatest thing since sliced bread because we own it and we're in it. And I think we're wearing rose-colored glasses sometimes because we think it's so great, but is it really?
Yeah, I think that's a great. Those are some good questions. I mean, I think that if you're trying to improve your culture, the first thing to do would be to consider measuring it. So getting together a survey to just ask your team some basic questions. And a resource that I love is the 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. It's a book that
I love that book professionally and personally. That book saved kind of my marriage.
The five love languages, right? Yeah, totally. We've talked about this, Libby. Yeah, no,
Yes.
I mean, knowing we all, and the premise of both of those books, so the 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace or the 5 Love Languages, written by the same folks, is that we all express our love or appreciation in different ways, and the way we express it is typically the way we want to receive it. And there are 5 different languages, and so if we can learn other people's language, then we can see them and appreciate them and love them better, basically. And so that book has got some good tools in it and resources too for like if you want to do a survey. And then from there, I mean, going back to what I was saying before, like there is this basic human need to be seen and appreciated, right? And so many folks are missing that mark in the workplace because they're communicating in the way that they want to. So, for example, I'll use myself. One of my languages is words of affirmation. Tell me I'm pretty and smart, and man, do I feel good, right? And I found that I was doing that because that came naturally to me. So I do that. I'm like, what? I give compliments all the time. But if I'm giving compliments and words of affirmation to a leader in my office who's like, their language is acts of service or quality time,
Those
right?
are both of mine.
Then it's missing the mark, and they're not feeling appreciated or seen or like they're or valued or like their contributions matter because I'm not speaking their language. So for me, learning how my manager or the people that I'm leading, how they communicate, what their language is, it's a game changer. Because if yours is acts of service, then maybe I say, hey, how can I pitch in and help you on this project, or if it's quality time, then it might be, hey, let's grab lunch together and just catch up. Right. And I typically say leave physical touch out of it because it's not always appropriate. You can get in trouble.
High five.
Right. Right. But they're words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, gifts. That's another one. And that's one that I see people kind of commonly going overboard on, and in the service industry.
I love that topic, and that's what I was going to get into.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I see people going overboard, or they give the same gift to everyone, so it's like, who cares? Like, that doesn't feel very thoughtful, right? And so it's about personalizing the experience for your staff. And once you get to be a bigger company, it takes a lot more effort. You have to personalize it, and it can't just be top down. From a culture standpoint, you want to get everyone in on it. Like, you want to teach this stuff. For me, we teach this to our staff. How do they appreciate each other? And it's not easy with a remote staff of people working all over the place. It takes concerted effort, but we have found that helps with retention for sure.
So I have so many directions to go right now. First, I want to do the gifts that I see go overboard. Molly is right. And we were guilty of this too. And we have stopped, where you're buying Valentine's Day, the piddly Dollar Tree or some Walmart stuff in a bag for Valentine's Day.
Right.
So statistically in the book, they say that gifts is the lowest one in the workplace, the lowest percentage of people's love language in the workplace. And that's typically what we go to because it's the easiest. Instead of the quality time or words of affirmation, hey, great job on Mrs. Jones's floors. We know she's super picky, and she has 3 cats, and way to go the extra mile. That's words of affirmation, kind of, but in detail, right? And not just great job.
It has to be specific. Yeah, it has to be specific.
So I feel like we go to the gifts because the gifts are easy or easier than the others. And in reality, that's the least wanted in the workplace.
I think you're right, Libby. And it's easiest, and it's also very tangible, right? People love how tangible the gifts are. And it's like, hey, look, and so we've done away with the Valentine's Day, whatever, we've done away with that stuff. And we continue to iterate and systematize this, right? Because I can't spend, I shouldn't say I can't. I choose not to spend quality time with everybody because that's not the best use of my time as the leader of a company, right? But that doesn't mean somebody else in the leadership team can't do that very same thing with somebody who might need it. So it takes some effort, but I believe it's incredibly, it can be incredibly powerful. One thing I will say about gifts, just to loop back though, one thing we do for birthdays is we do gifts for our staff, and we find out what their favorite restaurant is. And we go out and we get them gift cards for their favorite restaurant. So it's very specific to them. They're like, how'd you know? And it's like, remember that survey you filled out when you started here? So we do, gifts can be a fantastic way of doing certain things, but you want to personalize it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've done the same thing as far as parties. We make sure we have their favorite beverage or drink or chips, and specific so that they know we got that for certain people, and they love that specificity in it. But you had said survey, and I saw you said survey earlier, and I think that sending a survey on how we're doing as a business or our culture is a scary thing to do from a business owner that has not done one before. And I think we get in our own heads in our own way, and we think that our employees think like us. And in reality, they don't think like us. But Molly, as far as surveys go, we started doing them, and we found wow, they weren't asking for $1 million raise. They weren't complaining. The majority of our staff was extremely happy. And we did the ENPS score, And then we've also done like a massive survey. Are there any types of surveys that you've done that come to mind that could help measure your culture?
I think that one the first one you mentioned definitely helps. We do. I don't have an answer for that to measure culture, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard, but we do monthly surveys. One thing we do is like we do monthly surveys on different things, and then we share the results in our employee newsletter. So we're really
Nice.
transparent about it. It's like, hey, one of you said that you would not recommend this as a place to work, and 5 of you said yes. And like whatever it is, like we're completely transparent about those results that we're asking them in the surveys. And then we use them. The leadership team uses some of those results to address issues as well. So we're hoping that, and that's a newer thing, maybe the last 5 or 6 months for us, but the hope is that also continues to increase trust. And, I really believe that there's something especially unique in the house cleaning industry. If you're running solo teams, they're not on their computers all day. So we can't stay connected in the way a traditional remote team can. So we have to go above and beyond to stay connected and have them feel like they're part of a bigger culture, family, whatever, however you want to define it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I was looking for, Molly. Not necessarily the name of the survey, but so you're sending out something monthly.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And the question is different.
Mm-hmm.
My next question is, is it anonymous or
It's
not?
anonymous, completely anonymous.
It's anonymous.
Yeah.
So guys,
Yeah.
that's a great way to start. She's doing monthly, anonymous, and it's a different question each month.
Yep. And we have a software that helps us with it, but you can just use a Google form and people don't need to sign in, and it's anonymous. It's super easy, right? But the one thing I would say is don't do it if you're not willing to listen to it. And so you've got to be willing to listen to it. And here's the thing, even if it's crappy, even if it like, you're like, holy crap, like I didn't realize that is information. And I think a lot of times business owners, because we love our companies, but somehow our self-worth or our identity can get tied up in it. And so if somebody says something bad, it feels extremely personal. But like, this is a job for our employees. This is a job. Yes, we want it to mean more, but this is a job. It is an exchange, right? It's not their life. And so the more we can step back and remove ourselves from that and start thinking about it as a way for us just to improve and get better, not take it personally, the better.
I like that. Not take it personally. It's hard not to, but I also like the fact that even if something bad comes in, at least we know now and we can work on it.
Totally.
Right? Just think of that person that feels that way and they see the improvements. They see the fact that changes are being made. We do the same thing, but what we do is we address it in our monthly meeting out loud, saying, hey, like we heard X, Y, and Z. And, just to let you know, we're improving this, we're working on it. Maybe it's coming. So we address it monthly, but in our meetings more vocally versus in our newsletter. But I like in the newsletter too.
I love that. I think we'll do it both ways. We do right now we're doing quarterly meetings. So it's not quite as often, but I like sharing that in a different here's the other thing with remote teams and culture. We have to share in all the ways. Like yes. Some people want to read it. Some people want to watch you on video. Some people want to hear it. Some people want to do it in person. Some people want a text message. We have to do it in all the ways in order to reach people in the way that they best communicate.
Think of it like marketing. You can't just put something on Facebook, right? If you want to get a lead, you have to put it in a newsletter, on Facebook, on your website, like you name it. It's got to be in all the ways. So Molly, I want to thank you for being on. And I love the topic of culture because we can keep hiring, we can keep recruiting, but if they're going right out our back door, it doesn't matter because it's going to impact the growth of our company. And most of all, like Molly said, the profit. Because when we're constantly cycling through employees, it starts to impact the profit, the bottom line. And so if you see that happening, I would say, one, I would recommend maybe stop recruiting and take a look at what's broken. That happened to us. People were leaving. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. And, until I took my owner hat off and looked at my company from the eyes of an employee, it wasn't as great as I thought it was. And, that's a hard pill to swallow. But until I stopped recruiting and stopped interviewing and stopped hiring, and was intentional about looking for that gap in the system or in the process, we weren't able to fix it. And so I think the surveys are a great way to go, because it just helps expedite that process.
It does. And I'll say that as the owners of our company, you know, we might think we have phenomenal relationships with different people in our company. We might, and maybe we do, but there's always going to be a power differential. And so getting honest, like face to face feedback can be extremely challenging, right? Unless your culture is radical transparency and whatever. And so having those anonymous surveys are a really good tool to change things because, you know, when I'm talking to people, I mostly just hear all the good things. Even like the cleaning technicians, I might hear a few little things here and there, but I'm hearing mostly the good stuff. And no matter what I try, the environment I try to create around safety, and you can be honest with me, you can be transparent, there's still a power differential there. So the surveys, I think, really help address some of that gap.
Awesome. Well, Molly, I want to thank you for being a guest. If you guys want to find Molly or more information about her, we'll make sure to put that in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode of our YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and feel free to share with another business owner they may be struggling in this recruiting and culture space. Molly, thank you for being a guest.
Thank you, Libby.